All right. Hello, everybody. I'm waiting for, there we go. It looks like we've got a few people connected today. Alyssa, excited to see you here twice in one day. How lucky am I? So before we get started, would love to just give a brief intro to everyone who is here. So Sandra, you want to start and just let us know who you are?
Yeah, I'm Sonder. I meet with Triple Wells brands and talk about marketing and data and all the things to help you grow smarter. So I have a lot of experience doing marketing.
Awesome. Alejandro, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, my name is Alejandro. I'm an e-commerce strategist here at Triple and I do kind of the same thing as Sonder. I just do it for the smaller to medium tier brands, and I have slightly less experience than Sonder, but I'm still experienced enough to do the job.
Amazing, amazing. So, hi, I'm Raquel, and I'm a customer success manager here at Triple Whale. My role is really to make sure that my customers understand the full value of the platform, and really can dive in and understand all the data that they can pull from it. And Sandra and Alejandro then kind of take it to the next level and discuss those strategies and help optimize and all those fun things. Amazing. So the way that this typically works is, this is a time for you guys to come in here and ask your questions and really be able to get some answers from some of the best brains, not only at Triple Whale, but I think within the business. So would love to hear, any of your questions that are here. I'm just checking the sign up. Okay, so we do have one great question here that we can start with actually. Well, let me put it in the questions box so that we can track it. Okay, so send a question. Okay, so start the answer. In which case is it worth using triple attribution plus view attribution model? And what criteria does total impact look at? Who would love to dive into this one?
It's a great question. Double great questions.
Double great question, right?
Yeah.
I can take a stab at it. So
Perfect.
where I like to use triple attribution plus view through is primarily when I'm looking within Facebook and seeing what is performing. The reason I like to use it there is just because we are seeing a pretty big uptick in view through conversions over the last, I'd say, like 6 months. Primarily, I mean, at least my hypothesis is due to Facebook and Instagram Reels and the experience you have there, and people not wanting to lose their spot. And so they'll view an ad and go straight into Google. The reason why I am putting more weight behind view throughs now versus, let's say, 3-5 years ago, where I didn't care about them at all, is because it tends to be backed up pretty well with the post purchase survey data. And since we're able to pull in and dedupe post purchase surveys, we can actually see a pretty high response rate and just a number of conversions that our pixel is missing, aka they didn't click on an ad. So that's really where I like to use triple attribution plus view through. Alejandro, would you like to answer the total impact model question? The second
Ooh,
part?
that's a tough one. What criteria does a total impact look like? How it works in and of itself, I do not know. I guess nobody in this company really knows. But essentially, I mean, what criteria does it look at? I guess it mostly just focuses on top of funnel awareness, top of funnel awareness generating channels. So it's always going to skew towards these channels that are generating demand as opposed to channels like Google. So it kind of helps in this case where Saunders just says that there's a prevalence of user data. Total impact can and can help address that, because essentially it's going to take those post-purchase survey results and then it's going to reattribute them back to Facebook and then do a little bit of AI data modeling on top of it to say, okay, based on what we're seeing from your post-purchase survey, plus the click-based data that we are seeing through our pixel, most of your revenue is actually being generated by Facebook. and not by Google. And without Facebook, Google wouldn't be doing more or less its job. So I think the ideal combination is to do a mix of both, to use total impact to understand that marketing impact across all channels and how our channels are impacting one another, but then using triple attribution plus Facebook views to more or less double check Facebook's ROAS, as Sandra was just saying, because they obviously exaggerate a bit with their view through attribution, and ours is just like a nice middle point. So you can use both our ROAS on Facebook and Facebook's ROAS with triple attribution plus views to more or less find that sweet spot of what is actually most likely to be true.
There we go. All right, Martine, I believe this was your question. So if you have any follow-up questions, we would absolutely love to hear it. But, just to kind of reiterate, everyone who has joined us today, first of all, thank you for joining. But we are really here to answer your questions. I see someone is typing in the chat. So please send them our way, because that is what we're here to do, to get your questions answered. So shoot them.
And then I just threw in the knowledge base article as well for total impact, so you can look and see how we're using that. So it's going to be using both first party and zero party data. So post purchase survey responses, as well as people clicking on ads, to then map that up. So tie that in with the great example that Alejandro gave.
And just to kind of top of mind, everyone, if you do want to unlock total impact, you do need a post-purchase survey, but it's not just any post-purchase survey. You have 3 options. You can utilize our post-purchase survey, which, as long as you have a Pixel plan, it is free. So, why not? If it's free, it's for me, right? Number 2 is no. Or fairing. So those are the 3 options in terms of being able to actually utilize total impact. So if you do have any questions, feel absolutely free to reach out and let us know. So I do see Jeff asked a great question. Let me actually, Jeff, I'm going to just post it in the channel, the questions channel, for a second here.
I put it in there.
Raquel. Oh, you already did? All right. One step ahead of me, Sander. All right. So how do you see how the channel impacts one another on total impact? That is a great question.
I would say it definitely tends to favor channels that are more, I would say, more prospecting focused, in the fact in driving more of like a first click. So when I say that, I'm more referring to like a Facebook, a TikTok. Actually, I haven't seen too big of a lift on Pinterest, but maybe that's because not as many of our brands advertise on Pinterest. And then it tends to take away credit from Google branded search. So back to Alejandro's example. But if you're running, let's say, YouTube or display on Google, you actually will probably see a little bit of a lift there. So that's typically the results that I see. Alejandro, do you see anything differently?
That's pretty much it. That's the main thesis behind the model.
Okay.
No, I'm having this camera issue yet again.
And then you said you want to see how these channels impact one another. Another additional data layer or layer of data that you can add on that is you go to select columns and add the orders overlap column to your pixel section, and then switch to total impact to see more or less how that overlap is happening between channels. So that's another way or another data point that you could look at for sure.
I think you have to look at triple attribution for overlap.
Yeah, doesn't it populate the same with total impact? Like the
I don't
change?
think so.
I don't believe it does.
Yeah, the purchase. So at least the percentage wise, it's not going to change the numbers based on what attribution model you're looking at. So the percentage number will be most accurate based on triple attribution, because it's showing, unless you want to pull it up and see, that was my understanding, is it's not updating the.
Jeff mentioned we could use Alan to show them to show.
Okay, we can do that, Jeff. I think I probably still have the Shopify URL saved here.
I mean, I'm on LaPerm, and the numbers don't change when I'm switching between the models. They remain the same.
Right, let's see if I have it memorized right. Oh, I don't. Okay.
want me to pull it up? I have it up.
Oh yeah, if you have it up, do it. Yeah, I was just logging back into HubSpot to get it.
I got it. Oh, I got it. Don't you worry.
Yeah, so the purchase volume is based on triple attribution, and then that percentage or overlap is going to be based on triple attribution as well. So
Okay, so we wanted to let's look at maybe the last 7 days. And what was it we wanted to set up? Just the orders overlap?
yeah.
You can go to the Pixel All page and have it there.
Over Pixel All?
Yeah. Let's see.
Gotcha.
There it is.
And so does it change, Alejandro, when you go to triple attribution?
Just the TA plus views. Yeah, or triple, just not plus views, just triple attribution.
Yeah.
No
Let me
views?
see.
Yeah, I wouldn't do views.
It doesn't change on my end.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Okay. So yeah, back to the question then. Yeah, so the way Jeff that it's working, like Alejandro said, we don't know how we're weighting things with total impact, and frankly the weight's always changing as well, just based on our machine learning model and what's coming in through post-purchase responses as well as clicks coming in. So I would probably look at triple attribution, and then also just look at like your post-purchase survey responses as well, just to see what that overlap looks like. I have seen some awesome correlation with total impact and looking at audiences in the SCDP, which is pretty fascinating. We'll actually be talking about that tomorrow on the Well webinar. Shameless plug for that tomorrow if you would like to join that. So we'll be going through a couple examples there that, yeah, were pretty cool aha moments that just like painted a more clear picture and honestly lined up well with the post-purchase survey data as well. So yeah, so we'll cover some of that, but I mean, similar to what we have, always been communicating, to me, attribution is always a story. Now, our goal with total impact is to make it that source of truth and help you really see things, but I still think I like to leverage just different attribution models in different points of the funnel right now until we get more and more data behind total impact.
Awesome. So Jeff also asked, we just started using Fairing for post-purchase survey. Is it showing up connected? So number one, the fact that we're seeing, total impact is available is a good sign. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this just to make sure. So I'm going to go actually to the integrations page. And it looks like Fairing is connected, right? We're seeing, it doesn't say connect, it says disconnect, and we can view no account information available for the service. That's always fun. Is that what's prompting your question, Jeff? So it does look like, yes. Okay. It does look like it is connected. I am seeing this green dot. Let me check the back end. Hold on.
You could also, to Raquel, look and see if we're pulling in Fairing survey results under like Facebook.
That's a good call.
I don't know. Yeah,
can I see it within total impact?
No,
or do
go
I need
to
to
triple
just
attribution plus views, because
Okay.
yeah, it will
Thought so.
put the survey results into the.
Yep.
Okay, sweet.
So we are pulling in. We're seeing purchases. Here are the purchasers. Yep, you are good. Hope that was helpful, Jeff. Awesome.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Jeff, with that follow-up comment. So I hinted at this earlier. We'll actually dedupe your survey responses. So if we see someone clicked on a Facebook ad and they tell us they came from Facebook, then we're not actually going to show that purchase where Raquel was just at. under fairing. That's only unmatched purchases that we're seeing there. Where'd it just go?
That's a good question. It literally disappeared, right?
Disappeared on us. Yeah, so it's super helpful to see, Jeff, because that's, really where we're seeing someone who didn't click on an ad, but then they tell us they came from Facebook. Most likely, in most cases, we either see them coming from organic Google or from like a Google branded campaign. And so it kind of helps paint that journey of, yeah, someone saw an ad, opened up a browser, and then, just typed in your brand and came up. So maybe they're looking, with a higher price point, they're looking for other reviews or just doing some more research on the company. Like there could be lots of different reasons as to why they're doing that. Maybe they don't want to lose their spot on Instagram or Facebook. So yeah, so just keep that in mind.
Okay, cool. We have 2 other questions. Let's actually make sure. Okay, cool. Yes. All right. So we have Veronica Nelson asked, is there a hub that we can see fairing data on Triple Whale like the TW post-purchase survey? Great question, Veronica. At this point in time, no, there is not a way. Let me actually, Jeff, is it cool if I go to your summary page for a second? I'm maybe one of you know the answer to this actually. I forget which platform it is, but we do have a section on the summary page that can show some of the information, but I don't believe it works for fairing.
Oh, I thought we did add a fairing hub.
I just don't recall.
Yeah, let me pull up.
Okay, so that's given that Jeff said yes, and we appreciate you, Jeff. Hold on, let's see. Oh, no, I'm totally just lied to you, Veronica. I'm so sorry. We do have a section. It's going to give you high level overview of just percentage of people, but it's not necessarily going to get you as deep of an insight section as the post-purchase survey. So this is something that you should be able to add to your summary page. If you don't see it, what you'd want to do is actually click in onto this little settings here, go into customize summary. And once you've actually integrated the platform, if you don't see it up here, it should be down here, and to just add it and you should be good. Cool. All right, hold on, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and maybe my camera will work with me today. Let's see. I think I need to reach out to Livestorm. Just be like, guys, this keeps happening. What's going on? Okay. Cool. All right.
Start the next answer, Raquel.
Sure. Do you want me to read the question?
Yeah.
So Alyssa asked, if we are seeing consistent responses in the post-purchase survey for none of the above, do you recommend adding that as a response or keeping it as none of the above? We're seeing the let's try that again. We are seeing the consistent reply of something like previous customer. Interesting.
This is very common. What were you going to say, Raquel? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you keep seeing consistent replies of previous customer, I'm not sure if that means like referred by a friend, or if that's saying like, oh, I'm not a new customer, so like I'm just purchasing again. It might be worthwhile to add those 2 answers just to be able to kind of get a little bit more of an understanding. Obviously, you can play with the language, right? But that might give you a better understanding of who are these customers. Any other thoughts, Sander or Alejandro?
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. This is, I'd just say it's very, very common on the none of the above for this to be the case. So one thing our survey doesn't do that No Commerce and Fairing do offer is with their survey, you can target only new customers. And so it excludes existing customers that way. So they have a cool condition that you can add there. Now, I don't think it's like a big issue. It's probably not bugging your customers to opt in and do this. So I wouldn't be too worried. But if that is something you wanted or wanted a little bit more conditional follow-ups and things like that, they're great partners of ours that offer a great tool as well. So that's another option.
Awesome. Okay, we have another great question from Martine. Why does the triple attribution model not show a breakdown of the post-purchase survey response and the total impact does? Huh. So it's actually, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
Is that what you happen to be seeing, Martine? Let's see. So you should be seeing that triple attribution should be showing you that breakdown, but then given that total impact is using that zero party data through the post-purchase survey to actually model the kind of the attribution, you wouldn't necessarily see it as a line item the way that you would see it with triple attribution. If that is the case, Martine, please let us know because that is a bug. In TA, it appears as other.
I know. Let me pull up real quick. I think so. When we look at like the pixel all section, right, it will show the other responses. I'm wondering, I know in triple attribution, it will show all the responses in there and give credit to them. I don't know what it looks like in total impact. So I'm just trying to pull up an account real quick so I can see.
So Jeff actually said that Martine actually works with Alan as well. So do you want me to pull that up again?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, do that.
Sure. 1 second. Obviously, I lost the page. Oh, no, it's right here. Just kidding. Okay. It's probably going to give me errors with my video again. All right. So if we're looking in here, right, and let's go to Pixel Ads for a second. Let's look at the last 7 days. So within triple attribution plus view, right, we are seeing the fairing results, right? So we're seeing this breakdown. We could also go to Google to see if it also pulls in there and shows up there. Yes, we are also seeing data here. Wow, 22 customers through Google. Now let's switch over to total impact. Because total impact, we're not necessarily going to see that that line item the way that we're looking at it here. Is this not what you're seeing?
Go to the pixel all section, Raquel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. We're in triple total impact.
So I think we just showed different responses on total impact versus triple attribution plus views, or at least the order percentages are weighted differently.
I'm seeing none of the above here. I'm also seeing excluded, but is excluded isn't connected to post-purchase survey. Just none of the above is.
Yeah, it looks like friend or family they have on there towards the top. That one is one of their post-purchase survey responses. And I'm assuming consumer reports probably is as well on this. I don't know if that is set up as its own source. Usually it just looks not as clean. So I'm assuming that's a survey response versus, okay, yeah, it is. Yeah, now switch it to triple attribution. And I think it's no longer necessarily broken out other than none of the above typically.
I see. It's just other.
Oh, got it. Oh, that's different. Okay, so it's different than with Fairing versus our survey.
Yes.
So I'm looking at someone who's using the triple survey, and on triple attribution, I am pulling in like email, none of the above, and referred by a friend on triple attribution. So interesting. Okay, it's probably something to do then, Martine, with the
connection.
Yeah, the Fairing integration.
Yeah.
And it could potentially be too that there haven't been as many survey responses for those choices yet. Is potentially what's also happening. I don't know when you guys switched from the triple attribution, or sorry, not triple attribution, the triple survey to Fairing, because it looks like both were running previous. 10 days ago.
10 days ago. All right. Yeah, so this other Jeff, this is Fairing.
Okay.
No problem, Jeff.
That's the reason.
Okay, awesome. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen again. Cool.
Good learning with you both. That was
yes.
First time I've seen that.
Okay, there's one last question here. So I'm going to start the live answer. From Jeff, can you share your thoughts and your insights on what you are seeing in channel overlap? I think we actually might have gone over this a little bit already, but do you want to maybe share more strategic insights here?
Yeah, we can dive in and look at it.
Sure. Should I share Alan again?
Yeah,
okay.
let's do it.
Okay, cool.
We'll let Alejandro wow us with his knowledge right now.
Yeah, I mean, to clarify, Jeff, do you mean the channel overlap section at the bottom of the pixel page or the orders overlap? There's two ways to look at this.
You can probably just run through it all if you want, Alejandro.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Both, so there we go.
I mean, I'm gonna have to disappoint you, Jeff, because I usually only use one. I almost always ignore the bottom one because it doesn't give me the level of detail that I want, but we can go over it really quickly. Yeah, to be honest, I don't even read this at all. I've never used this because it doesn't give me like the granular insights that I'm looking for. If you wanted a deeper answer, I would recommend just switching over and going to the orders overlap at the top. If you scroll upwards, Raquel. There. This guy here, that's very important. So this is going to give you that level of detail that I was talking about. So what it's essentially saying is it's going to measure how many orders from said channel, in this case Google, are overlapping with other channels. And by overlapping, I mean that there was just another touch point on the way. So if somebody saw a Google ad, what else did they hit, right? And how many of those became conversions, right? So how many conversions happened that had multiple hits that started with Google ads, if that makes sense. So what this is saying is 42% of the orders from Google, or your orders from Google, had an overlap with another channel. So there was another channel playing in that conversion. If you can see here, we'll see that you have organic Google, Affluencer, Klaviyo, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to give you all your sources. And from my understanding and from what I've seen with many brands, there's nothing you can really do to affect this overlap. It's just something that is. But in your case, it's actually pretty normal. There's not a abnormal level of overlap going on here. If there was a super high level of overlap, that would essentially mean that you might be double dipping and paying channels twice. But in your case, you're at a pretty normal level. And your biggest overlapper is organic Google. So you might be paying Google a bit more than necessary, but not by a degree that matters. So let's go now to the other channels. Let's see. Let's go to Klaviyo, for example. Klaviyo is always an interesting one because Klaviyo always has higher overlaps. And Klaviyo likes to credit a lot of the conversions to themselves. So to see to what degree Klaviyo is exaggerating, you can definitely look at the overlap and see what else is going on here, like what other channels are playing in this conversion. You can see Google Ads is playing heavily there, Affluencer is playing heavily there. And it gives you more or less a grounded view of how Klaviyo is doing in and of itself. And or whether it's generally being assisted by other channels. I've seen brands have a Klaviyo overlap of like 80. Which is really high. So they're essentially paying platforms twice. But in this case, it's also at a normal level in your case. So this is a type of section like for strategic insights that I just use to understand the picture, but you can't really do too much to affect it, which is the sad reality of things. These channels do overlap, and it just depends on your brand to what extent do they overlap. In your case, it's at a pretty normal level. Let's see Facebook at 50%. That's also pretty normal. But maybe we should look at a bigger different time range, because the AOV is so high that we need a bit more.
I look at this month or last month?
Let's look at 90 days, because the AOV is pretty high. So I imagine the purchase window to be a bit broader.
And Jeffrey asked Jeff asked a second question: is what's a good percentage of overlap?
There's no good or bad, I would say. It depends 100% on what type of product you're selling. If you, for example, have a product that requires people researching it, let's say they see a Facebook ad, and then they go into Google to research it, and it requires multiple touch points and information, then you will naturally see higher overlaps, as opposed to, let's say, having a piece of jewelry that costs $25 and you just expect a direct conversion from it. In your case, I'd say a good overlap is between 30 and 50. If you're way higher than that, then that means you might be double dipping and paying platforms twice. But again, that's really hard to influence, because that's just the journey that your customers are taking. You might have to change ad formats, or maybe create a custom journey whereby maybe you lead them directly to a landing page. But again, you can't control whether people will click on that ad or not. So it just shows how people are engaging with your ads. But in your case, again, let's look at Facebook now again. Raquel, where is it?
There it is. Okay.
66, quite high. But again, given your AOV, it's perfectly normal to have it at this level, because it is an expensive product. People will probably see an ad on Facebook. They might want to research that product a bit more. So it makes perfect sense for your business.
Yeah, and I've the only con really to overlap is like double, triple dipping across, right? Yeah. And then, but I've seen, for example, customers who have like an 80% order overlap, and it tends to be the channels that have the highest overlap actually have the lowest NCPA. So I'd more look at like your new customer acquisition costs and how that correlates with your overlap over time. So in some cases, especially Jeff, with your guys' AOV and just being a more expensive product, you're probably just, like Alejandro said, going to have a higher order overlap. So that's more how I would kind of do like the checks and balances with it. Because let's say for you guys, it might make sense to have a much higher order overlap and to ramp up your retargeting or remarketing on Google and Facebook, which will cause a higher order overlap, but a quicker buying cycle and a lower NCPA. So that's kind of like the check and balance I like to use with overlap, especially with a higher AOV product. Now, if you're selling like a $30 AOV product, it's probably in your best interest to have a lower order overlap, so you're not having to pay Facebook and Google the same amount of dollars to get a customer, right? So it just comes down to like that acquisition cost, that NCPA. So that's really what how I'd be looking at it.
Yeah, and if you have really high overlaps, just keep an eye on your blended metrics instead of just narrowly focusing on channel metrics.
So Martine had a follow-up question. What I've noticed is that the bigger the overlap, the lower the percentage of attributed revenue in total impact. For example, Affluencer has a high overlap, and in total impact, its participation rate is much lower than in triple attribution. Maybe this wasn't a question and more just a comment. Do we want to dive into this then?
Yeah, I'm trying to comprehend this one. What I've noticed is the bigger the overlap, the lower the percentage of attributed revenue.
I guess because triple attribution is overextending credit to 100% of each touch point that came across, you will see a higher participation rate. When participation rate, I imagine you mean like revenue contribution.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, it's similar to like a linear model where it's going to be fractionalizing the percentage, but the weight isn't going to be even like a linear. So
gotcha. Okay. All right, cool. I'll bring my camera back. We are kind of at our last couple of minutes of today's Ocean Hours. So first of all, I want to see, does anyone else have any last minute burning questions that, they just need answered by one of us, let us know.
Looks
If
like
not,
Jeff has one around the mean, medium, and mode in the AOV section. I'm assuming, Jeff, under insights. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. 1 second. Sorry, I missed it, Jeff. All right. So we're going to go into insights and we want to go into AOV. And I'm just going to shut off my camera because this is just aggravating.
Sorry,
All
Raquel.
right.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Sorry to everyone else.
No, you're good. Yeah, so this, what I really like to use this, so you can see at the very top, we're looking at the last 3, last 6, or last 12 months. So right now we're looking at the last 6 months. What I really like to do is factor in kind of that Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday time period. So if you're impacted by that, then I probably would look at like the last 12 months just to bring in more data. Most companies are. So you guys have a very interesting distribution here. So what's interesting here is typically we tend to see the mean and the median very close in their AOVs, where in this case, this is showing a distribution. Now, what could be happening here is you might have like a sample product that you're sending out to people, and that could be bringing that median down. But we can also see that distribution. Yeah, so it's probably the smaller filters. Jeff, is what's bringing that median distribution down and that subscription revenue you guys have, where the mean's going to be that true average, and then the mode is the most frequent. So I'm assuming the refill filters are probably around that 94.45 for one of your units. Probably your most popular unit is what my assumption would be there. So mode is your most common. So your most common order that you have. And so that's showing that there's an order quantity of $94.45, which is your most common purchase. So, yeah. So now, obviously the distribution, you guys are also selling a lot of higher priced units to go with that, which is making your mean increase. So Raquel, if you scroll down a little bit at the AOV distribution there, so yeah, you can see we've got a decent amount of distribution at like that $1,300 price point and $1,350 on the far right. So yeah, a good amount of orders there. But you can also see then your distribution from that, 0 to 50, or yeah, what is that?
I think it's 0 to 107.
Yeah. So yeah, 50,000 orders there. So, the mean is just going to put that line right in the middle. Or sorry, not in the middle. It's going to be based on weighted. So if you even made the size of the bar a little bit bigger, Raquel, right? So we're kind of like distributing it out now. That's where you can see that line is very much going to be like right at that $90 mark, because you have just a ton happening right there. So yeah, that's kind of where it fits in that way. So how I like to set things, Jeff, a lot of companies like to use AOV to set their CPA targets. So for you guys, it could be a mix, right, of filters, but at the end of the day, you really want to sell like the air purifiers and your bigger units that way. So I'd probably more just approach things with a CPA that is focused on probably my bigger units, and then obviously you guys know through your life cycle marketing, you're going to upsell people to the unit. So I remember when we looked at your account, your cohorts, you had a really big uptick in repeat purchases every 6 months, which is very, very uncommon for most brands. That's typically where they have a big drop off point, but you guys had a big spike. So you can probably bank on, the air filters coming in on the back end and helping out. And so I'd probably more set my CPA targets. I'd probably honestly wouldn't use my AOV here, since it is going to be taking into account filters. One of the cool things we could actually do though is under the SCDP is we could create an audience of anyone who has bought pretty much anything that aren't one of your filters. And then we could, in that AOV section, we could select those customers that way. So then we can actually get a true AOV of people who are buying units.
I'm just looking at the naming on not all of them say, let's try air purifier. Air purifier. Right?
I think if you do is in, it will actually dynamically pull in the products. Yeah, so type in like purifier. Oh, interesting. 75i, he said. Do 75i.
75i.
That's so
I think
weird.
it's
It
Alan.
just showed it. There you go. Oh, that's a power cord though.
Power cord, yeah.
Well, so just depending on how you're, I think what it's doing is it's pulling from what your SKU is labeled in the back end of Shopify, not what it's displaying on the website. So just look and see what that SKU is in. Then if you do contains or is in, with is in, you can do multiple. So you can add multiple products that way. Or if you do contains, then you can do, any of those words that are contains and then do some more or rules that way. So, and then, then I would drop that into my AOV and kind of see what that average order value is on that side.
Excellent. Awesome, Jeff. Sorry we couldn't do this together, but you get the gist. Awesome. All right. All right. Well, I think that brings us just about at time. So again, for real this time, thank you everyone for joining us today. It is always insightful hearing your questions and being able to answer them. We're here every Tuesday, so please feel free to join us again. You can sign up actually at oceanhours.com, which is pretty easy to recall. So feel free to join us. And you can watch the videos on YouTube if you wanted to. Again, thank you so much to my incredible, co-pilots, Alejandro and Sonder. Always incredible to get to, talk to you guys and tap into your brains along with these customers. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Likewise. Thanks so much, Raquel. You're the best.
Oh, thanks. All right. Have a good one, everyone.